today we're going to look at how to interpret a graph and figuring out how graphs kind of tell a story. So it's really important to make sure that you understand what is on the x-axis. So it looks like here on the x-axis is time, and it looks like on the y-axis, your vertical axis, is distance. Home looks to me like it's right there in the center. So we want to interpret the graph. We want to match the appropriate letter to each section of the graph. So our time is on the x-axis and our distance is on the y-axis. So we want to, stopping for a shorter amount of time, I want to figure out where A would be. So let's think about, so we have some options here. Let's read all our options. Stopping for a shorter time, driving away from home quickly, driving home quickly, driving away from home slowly, stopping for a longer time, or driving home slowly. I noticed two stoppings. If you look at your graph, where do you think is a time that you're stopping? So obviously someone's driving their car. They start at home, they go a little bit over a certain amount of time, they're a certain distance away from home. And then it looks like, and that seems to be like a steady increase. And then it looks like it kind of picks up speed. It looks to me like they're driving faster right there. This part right here, over a certain amount of time, they're the same exact distance. So over time, they stayed the same. They didn't go any distance. They're the same distance. That means they stopped. Then it looks like they're driving a little bit, getting closer to home. And then again, over time, they're not going any distance, so they're stopping. So my stoppings are A and E. One of them is for a short time, one of them is for a longer time. So this part is the shorter, which would be A, and this is stopping for a longer time, which would be E. So that flat part there is my stopping parts. They're going no distance, but there's a certain amount of time, so they're staying at that location for a certain amount of time. All right, let's look at, obviously this last part is driving, seems to be pretty quickly back home. All right, driving away from home quickly. Driving home quickly, driving away from home slowly, driving home slowly. All right, so we said right here that if you start at home, you are clearly driving away from home. Do you think you are driving away from home quickly or away from home slowly at this first part here? You are driving away from home slowly, which would be option D. This part right here, it looks like you're getting further away from home still, but you're doing it quicker. So that would be driving away from home quickly, which would be option B. And then we're stopping for a short time. And now it looks like we're kind of going back. We're going back towards home. So are we driving home quickly or are we driving home slowly there? That would be slowly. It's not going rapid. This part right here that decreases quick, that, whoops, we said this would be slowly, which is F. This part is the quickly because it is decreasing rapidly there. So that's kind of how my graph will tell my story. Just be very cautious on these. Kind of break them down. Make sure you know what's on the x-axis, make sure you know what's on the y-axis and what they're asking you to tell. All right, so let's look at my x-axis. My x-axis is time, which a lot of times your x-axis will be time. Your y-axis is dollars. Okay. So some of our options. So it looks like, well, let's just go over what we have. We got a little flat line here. So it looks like after a certain amount of time, I got a lot of money here for a certain amount of time. And then it decreases. My money is going down. I wonder what's happening there. And then it looks like after a certain amount of time, my money increases a little bit. Now it goes up a lot. And then right here, it's not really doing much. Over time, I'm not spending any money. And then that one starts to go down. All right, so look at our options. Spending money quickly, not earning money or spending money for a short time. Earning money slowly, not earning or spending money for a long time. earning money quickly or spending money quickly. I'm going to look at these two first, B and D. Not earning or spending money for a short time, or not earning or spending money for a long time. Well, we just said this part right here, over a certain amount of time, they have the same money. So they're not spending any money over that time. Right here, the money's staying the same over a certain amount of time, but that's a shorter one. So I think this one would be B, you're not earning or spending for a short time, and this would be not earning or spending for a long time. So those are taken care of. All right, spending money quickly. So we said D is I'm not earning or spending, but then all of a sudden it goes down. Where else does it go down? It looks to me like the only other part it goes down is here. Both of those are spending money. Over a certain amount of time, your money drops. Well, I have a spending money quickly or a spending money slowly. I'm thinking this one's my quick, and that one is I'm spending it a little bit slower. These last two, this increases, and then this really increases quick. So earning money slowly or earning money quickly. This one would be your slowly, and that one would be earning my money very fast. So take it step by step, break it down, see what you got going on there. Let's go to these next two. So we want to match each situation to the corresponding graph below. George, Jacob, and Michael are studying 100 words for a spelling bee. George started by learning how to spell many words each day, but then learned fewer and fewer words each day. Before I keep reading, I want to look at all these graphs. My time in days is on the x-axis for all of them. And my words learned is on the y-axis for all of them. Okay. So it looks like this one kind of just steadily goes up, and over time I learn more words, and it pretty much goes the same amount the whole time. This one is a really slow start. Over time I'm learning words slowly, and then all of a sudden I learn words pretty quick. This one looks to me like I learned a lot of words fast, and then I kind of slow down on that. So let's look at our options here. George started by learning how to spell many words each day, but then learned fewer and fewer words each day. Which one of these shows George learning many words each day and then fewer and fewer? We said this first one kind of starts steadily. This one, the second one, really starts slow. I'm not learning a lot, but then all of a sudden I learn a lot. This first, the last one, looks like he learned a lot of words and then it slows down. So I'm thinking that this is George. Jacob learned how to spell the same number of words each day. Which one does it look like he was doing the same thing every day? Looks like this would be Jacob, the first one. Now we got Michael started by learning how to spell the same number of words each day. So kind of stayed steady here, the same each day. Then learned a greater number of words each day. So then it increased. He learned a lot more. So this would be Michael. So break it down step by step. Make sure you know what's on your X and Y axis. Kind of make sure you understand the graphs first and then match them up. All right, the speeds of 3 people, A, B, and C, who are riding snowmobiles. All right, so I got X. My X is time. And my Y is speed in miles per hour. All right, so without me kind of giving you a little rundown of these, let's see if you can figure it out. Person A steadily increases his speed through most of his ride. Then person A slows down as he nears home. Person A steadily increases his speed through most of the ride. Then he slows down. So his speed should be going up, and then his speed is going down. Which one do you think is person A? Hopefully you picked the last one. Person B. begins his ride slowly. Then he stops to talk with some friends. After a few minutes, he continues his ride, gradually increasing his speed. So person B begins his ride slowly. Then you have to stop to talk to some friends. So think about this. If you begin your ride slowly and then you need to stop, your speed has to decrease. Your speed is kind of increasing because you're increasing slowly. And then if you need to stop to talk to your friends, it's got to decrease. And then it would flatline because you're talking to your friends for a little bit. So here, this is steadily catching up speed. And then he wants to talk to his friends, so he decreases his speed. And this is my time he talks to his friends. And then it says he gradually increases his speed. There we go. This is person B. Person C steadily increases his speed, then he maintains a constant rate. So slowly he's increasing his speed, and then he is maintaining his speed. His speed is going, is a constant speed over that certain amount of time. So this is person C. All right, we are going to skip a couple things. So the next page that you have, we're going to skip 1 through 8. And we are going to jump right to number 9. So let's go ahead and look at number 9. It says, Carrie, Luke, and Mason receive the same allowance each month from their parents. Carrie spent a small amount of her money in the first half of the month, and then she spent the rest in the second half of the month. Well, let's look at our tables. Our x-axis is our days, our time in days, and our y-axis is our dollars spent. So Carrie spent a small amount in the first month, first half of the month, and then spent the rest in the second half. So which one do you think Carrie is? Well, it looks to me like this increase right here means I spent a lot of money in the first half of the month, right? And then the second half of the month, it doesn't look like I spent anything there. So I don't think that matches Carrie. This one, I kind of steadily spend a little bit of money, right? And then it jumps up and it looks to me like I spent a lot of money quick. That looks like that could be Carrie. After the second half of the month, like right here is halfway, so she's spending a little bit the first half, the second half she spends a lot more. Luke steadily spent his money throughout the entire month. So Luke slowly goes up. Well, this is steadily increasing throughout the entire month. That would be Luke. Mason rapidly spent all of his month, that should say money. Mason rapidly spent all of his money in the first half of the month. So he spent almost everything in the first half of the month and has nothing else to spend. So this right here would show Mason rapidly spending all his money in the first half of the month, and then the time is going, but he's not spending any money because he obviously spent it all. All right, we're going to skip, so if you flip to the next page, we're going to skip 1 through 6, and we're going to look at 7 through 10. So Jonah took a ride on a Ferris wheel. Which graph best represents his distance from the ground? So think about a Ferris wheel. You're going the same loop over and over again, right? It's not going higher every time or lower every time. So this one right here, over time, his distance goes up, he comes back down, and then it goes up the same amount every time. Think about a Ferris wheel. You go the same distance every time, the same height. This one has the distance from the ground changing. So it's getting lower and lower. Does a Ferris wheel's height get lower and lower as you go? It doesn't. You're going the same distance from the ground every time. So option A would be your answer. All right, for number 8, we want to pick which graph matches. A plane pulls up to a gate and lets its passengers off. Which graph best represents the speed of the plane? All right, so graph A, over time, your speed is maintaining the same. And then all of a sudden, that plane pretty much has no speed. The speed all of a sudden decreases. Whereas this one, your speed is steadily slowing for when that plane gets to the gate, and then it stops. So graph B would be the best option there. Frank flew from Japan to Australia. Which graph best represents his distance to the equator during the flight? Well, you do have to know a little bit about Japan and Australia. So if we're talking about the equator, is Japan or Australia closer to the equator? Well, hopefully you know Australia is closer to the equator. So Japan is further away from the equator. So he is flying from Japan. He starts at Japan. So if he starts at Japan, Japan's distance is not close to the equator. Well, if you look right here, you're starting pretty much on the equator. Here he's starting far away from the equator. So this is Japan. He flies to Australia. Australia is at the equator. And then he's probably flying back to Japan. So option B there. Last but not least, Kiara walked up a hill at a steady pace, and then she ran down the hill. So her pace is steady. So her speed is the same over time. Which one of these starts with a steady speed? Well, this one, the speed is staying the same, and then it looks like my speed is increasing. This one, my speed is increasing, and then it's decreasing. It's at a steady speed, and then she ran down the hill. So obviously she's running down the hill, her speed's picking up. Well, this is a steady speed, and then she's running down a hill. Yes, that's going up because her speed is going up. When you run downhill, your speed goes up. So option A is the best example. All right, go ahead and see what Google Classroom has. If you have any questions, email me. Keep working hard.